5 years since the stand down of Benghazi. 1 year since the collapse of Hillary Clinton. And just as we told you, bare minimum, Saudi Arabia involved, stand down ordered in the 28 pages. Congressman Walter Jones has exposed it. Senator Graham has gone public, exposed it. They've released what's in the 28 pages. All but in the complete letters. They've broken down what's in them. And now it's in the news. Saudi government allegedly funded a dry run for 9/11. Well, it was a lot bigger than that, ladies and gentlemen. It was used to then basically bring in a police state in this country while aiding the radical jihadis at the same time. The media always tries to spin it that I'm saying then the fire department blew the buildings up. They go, oh, the government did it. You mean people that work for the post office? That's the games they play. No, globalists that have been working with the Wahhabists to let Saudi Arabia take the blame and then blame Iraq, Saudi Arabia's enemy, and expand the Wahhabists' takeover and make a deal to flood Europe with 10 million people, 80% of military-age men, and then have Europe give up its liberties and freedoms in the name of appeasing Islam. There's a story on infowars.com. Finnish police chief, terrorists should be allowed in schools to expand tolerance. I read that Paul Watson headline at newswars.com and infowars.com, and I thought, surely Paul's putting out clickbait, though he never does that. And I read it. There's actual quotes of him. He's on TV saying, they go, yes, but these are terrorists. They're putting adults in the high schools. I'm not kidding. It's any form of cuckolding they can. Like, what's the most abusive thing? Let's put an ISIS fighter in a high school. Then when they rape people or kill people or bomb people, they go, oh, no, it's cultural enrichment. Even a terrorist, this is a quote, can benefit from good learning. It might widen views and expand tolerance, responded the police chief. Psychological warfare, breaking your will. Because you'll accept that, you'll accept anything. Now you see the larger designs. I've got some news here that I want to just tell Dr. Steve Pieczenik live on air, because I'm not even waiting for Roger Stone to come on in the 4th hour of me to go over this, because it's so sickening. It makes me ashamed just to even know how bad McMaster and people are. It shames me to know the details of it up close personally. To think about how slimy they are and how scared they are of us and our sources. It shows how weak they are, which only makes it worse that they're the ones that have encircled the president and that his weakness has allowed this. And our weakness has allowed this. And it's just disgusting to have to risk my life when my children need me. And I'm not feeling sorry for myself. I'm just telling you, this is disgusting. It's not fun to break stuff like this. It's not, oh, look, I get the big story. It's nobody else is willing to do it because they're threatening to kill people. Well, we're all dead culturally anyways if they win. So batten down the hatches, ramming speed. But I tell you, I don't just have this from Roger Stone. I have this from a bunch of other sources. In fact, we should probably get Mike Cernovich on. He told me all this. I have my sources. They basically cut off a lot of his sources. They've run Bannon out. And they did it by terrorizing the president. So I'm going to just tell Pieczenik this in the audience, this to get his take on it. They did it by terrorizing him with leaks of everything, and then only leaving the generals in place to let them do effective stuff because they were in control of the leaking. So they'd say, sure, we'll make everything effective like it is with our military and like it's with the border with the 69% reduction in illegals coming in. If you just let us have complete control and don't let anybody in there, don't let Ivanka in there, don't even hardly let Melania in there, don't even let your security head of 30 years, you know, the former New York detective, don't let him in there. In fact, when he would meet with him, you have to write a report and give it to Kelly. It's true. Everything they give him curtailed. InfoWars specifically. Breitbart was specific. He learned, don't show Breitbart. And Bannon's like, this is insane. This is the Americana reboot. This is the plan. What the real patriot deep state wants to do for the country, freedom, awakening the public. Because they were going to bring the country into total tyranny, economic despair, culture war. I mean, it was going to get a lot worse. What you've seen them trying would have been succeeding with all the race war, Antifa crap. And what they've done to Trump is, first, in the last few months, they got him to do that. Then they started controlling his information. And then people started noticing when they talked to him on the phone or in person, after about 9 at night, he was slurring his words. And the word is, and this is what I've read in history and study, but also just how I would do it. We've got Pieczenik, who's a psychiatrist and a medical doctor, and also a lot of other things can go over this. But they start the dose of whatever it is, not even generally a poison, but some type of addictive drug that is a depressant, very slowly until finally you're subconsciously wanting it when they bring it to him in his Diet Coke. We don't know exactly what it is, but just like with Reagan got in, did some good stuff, suddenly started acting real weird, but still he was bulling through it, so they shot him, gave him cold blood to cause brain damage, and then from there on out would kind of drug him and then undrug him and kind of roll him out for stuff. So the art of drugging presidents is very old. The art of the Chinese drugging their emperors is very old. This is a real art form for deep state. And the word is that he, because notice they go, oh, he's brain damaged. Oh, early on, so, he has all this energy, all this great stuff. But then suddenly people that see him out things, it's not him burning out. He always got off on the energy, people coming and going, lots of stuff happening. He loves it. It's that they're drugging him. And the word is they've even been bragging that, oh, wait, soon he's going to be incapacitated. So the way they're going to go is not blowing his head off. That'd make him a martyr. They're not going to go with it those ways. They're not probably going to go the FBI direction now. They're just using that to discredit him in the background to make him look illegitimate. It's just drugging him into a state incrementally where they control him and then politically destroying him down the line. And McMaster goes to dinners, and I already knew this from multiple sources, but this is from high-level sources. This was going to be in the news this week. I was, quite frankly, ready for it to just be in other papers. I don't want to stick my head in the lion's mouth, just for a circus trick. I'll do it for my family in the country and, let these scumbags know there's some people who aren't trash, but I'm not looking for this, okay? McMaster gets totally drunk. He'll drink 2-3 bottles of wine, $200, $300 bottles of Chardonnay at these events with these CEOs for this intelligence council. It used to be the Foreign Intelligence Council with all these corporate heads. And he just goes to these dinners and says, oh, the president, the idiot just called me, the moron just called me. And he does it because he's such a little climber that he wants to look good in front of everybody and thinks everybody hates Trump. He just shows his disdain. He's an idiot. He doesn't really have the launch codes. It's like Alexander Haig when Reagan was shot. I'm in control. I'm in command. But he's just doing this everywhere. And these people get really freaked out. And so I've got all the inside baseball from my sources, multiple ones. But it gets worse than that. There's so much more in the fourth hour. But to know that we've gotten so close, just him doing a few things, the exuberance, the pushing for tax cuts, the TPP, killing that, the carbon tax, killing that, all these things that were meant to deindustrialize the country and sell us out to communist China, that's all getting killed, all these good things happening, and then now, see, the leaks aren't happening because they've got him fully encircled, but then the next thing you do is the drugging. And again, I don't want to get up here and say the president after 9 o'clock at night is slurring his words and stumbling around. The guy doesn't take drugs, folks. He eats fast food and stuff, but, goes out and plays golf all day. The guy's, in overall really good shape. They're definitely putting something in his food, in his drinks is what they think. And I wanted to get Dr. Pieczenik, who's worked for the State Department and worked for the CIA and a lot of other things on, co-wrote books with Tom Clancy, who's been on the inside of all this stuff, is obviously very dangerous because this is right at the highest levels. McMaster created a task force to stop this information getting out. He later admitted in Bloomberg that indeed we know where they're eating. They're saying traitorous stuff to tables of people. Folks are really freaked out. Not everybody's a scumbag like McMaster. And it's one thing if Trump wasn't actually trying to turn the country back on. He's not perfect, but he's a real president actually trying to do good. And transferring power back to the people, back to the government from the globalists. But still, the sycophantic classes that he has to draw from the swamp are the most sickening, twisted, arrogant, beyond frat boys, as like a code of honor, believing mainstream media, believing mainstream culture. literally desecrating the country, saying horrible things about the president everywhere. It's not even about the president. It's the unprofessionalism, even if they were evil criminals. Oh, and but just wanting power. It's not that. It's this narcissistic celebration of just their idiocy. And again, they think they're safe doing all this? That's another thing, is they're so weak, they're worried about me and Cernovich and Roger Stone. And that Trump might get the phone and call us, which he still does. They don't even know what to do at this point. It's just so it's so destabilizing and crazy and dangerous and ham-fisted and not well executed. It's dangerous. We have all these enemies. We have all these crises we're facing. And I got 4 children. I'm pissed off at the globalists. I'm pissed off at the political class. I'm tired of their crap. They all need to go to prison. So there's fear in these people. I'm sick of them. Dr. Pieczenik, what do you make of the intel I just dumped on you? I know you have a lot of your own sources, but what do you make of that?
First of all, I thought you were going to call me up to see how I was, because I have been in the middle of a major storm which was not created by globalists or the CIA. And trees have been coming down. Power lines have been coming down. So, Alex, I want you to come
I did call. I mean, you were on yesterday. We know. Thank you for calling. I hope you're doing great.
You can ask, how am I doing, Alex? And you can ask all of the people who've been in Florida and Georgia and Texas, how are we doing? You want to ask that, Alex?
Yes, I have been covering that, and it's a bad storm.
No, it's not enough. You asked me to come on. I have to go to my neighbor's house in order to talk and say, look, we're in the middle of major... Oh,
I got it. You're at your neighbor's house. I think you're going about the hurricane. Sorry we didn't relay that to you. It was about this big... You were on with us yesterday. Yes, how are you doing over there? How was the hurricane?
No, that's not polite, Alex. Let's talk about a real problem. You have people in the United States who have been hit by major hurricanes, have nothing to do with McMaster, have nothing to do with anybody in the deep state or any state. And they've been working very well because, Alex, I keep on telling you, the American public, when it's left alone, really cares about each other. And there are neighbors who take us in, and we take in other neighbors, and we don't have to depend on FEMA, and we don't have to depend on the national government, because our local government in the various counties, Bradford, Union, Alachua, they all take care of us and make sure that we have food and water, Alex. So the fear that you're spouting right now, you have to hold it back, Alex. You and I don't always agree, but there are more important elements right now than McMaster and than anyone else. And that is, you're going to have huge devastations in several states. And what I've said for a long time is that it's at the local and the regional levels that we give a concern. Governor Scott was fine. Governor Abbott of Texas was fine. The local policemen, the local people, the churches, everybody's working together. So I want you to put a little bit of reality into this show before you start getting out of control about McMaster.
You're just giving me grief, and I know you knew what you were coming on about.
I'm not giving you grief. I'm giving you reality, Alex.
No. Let's remember that they are a joke. They are a fraud, and it's the people that are strong.
No. Wait a minute. Alex, you've never served. Let me put it very bluntly. The reason we have Kelly there, the reason we have Mattis there, the reason we have 5 to 6 generals is because we need command and control. We need to make sure that this government is run efficiently. It's not run by political operatives like your friends. It's not run by ex-cathedra people who have no idea what the military is, who have no idea where our dispositions are in North Korea, Japan, Iraq, or Iran. It's not fair, Alex. You have to be fair to our intelligence community and to the military. Our military.
Well, I don't think Petraeus and McMaster and all these guys running around doing what they're doing is fair. And just a few weeks ago, you said they were giving him really bad advice on the Afghanistan.
I agree with it, but it doesn't mean I'm going to eliminate everything that you have. If I don't agree with the General Mattis or a General Kelly or somebody, I will say it publicly. I don't agree with sending more troops into Afghanistan. That's not a strategy.
Okay, well, it's a fact that they're running around bad-mouthing Trump. It's a fact they're doing that.
Storm, you owe me. Now, the answer is very simple. Alex, the answer is very simple. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You've got Mattis there. He's doing a fine job. And you didn't talk about the fact that we just defeated in Raqqa, Mosul, and we've already pretty much cooled down the civil war in Syria, which is a sponsor that I was for, and that Pompeo.
No, I talk about positive stuff all the time. My point is that they are literally in there undermining the president.
He's not undermining the president. The president, as a kid and throughout, needed a command and control system. Number one, the president is doing what he needs to do. Number two, he flies to where he has to fly. Number three, there needs to be some sense of command and control in the White House where there's a consistency of messages. The president isn't number one, Alex. I've said it to you repeatedly. The republic is number one. Number two comes the president, and number three comes the people. It's the republic that we care about. The continuity of the republic is far more important than the continuity of a president. John F. Kennedy was assassinated. Others were taken out. But the republic remained so that we could maintain our viability as an entity and also your cash flows and also our international relations. It's not about globalists. It's about maintaining the consistency.
Oh, I understand globalism's getting cut up, but you've got a bunch of the power structure trying to remove the president. You got Mudd running around saying they're going to...
Who is trying to remove the president? Tell me one man who's trying to remove the president.
Okay, Phil Mudd, former deputy director of the CIA, said the government's going to kill the president.
That's nonsense. Who's the former director of the CIA?
I said former deputy director, Phil Mudd.
That's absurd. That's absurd. Because John Brennan and his group was a disaster. You don't really believe they're going to kill a president. And if you do kill a president, we don't announce it. John F. Kennedy was not told before he was going to be assassinated.
I know. So why are they running around saying that everywhere?
Because people like you and your friends who go around the paper, they want to create more fear and wonder. Most of the people around the president know damn well he's not going to be assassinated. The Secret Service has done an excellent job. They're exhausted. And we're paying more because they have to go all over the place with the president. But the president is fine. He's intact. He's doing what he has to do. Remember, the republic runs without a president and without a vice president. We've run it when Nixon was in trouble. We ran it when John F. Kennedy was in trouble. Yeah, but Trump's
not in trouble, and we need to carry out the true restoration of the power back to the states and back to the people, what you were just saying.
Alex, you're not giving due credit to Governor...
Hold on, we're you know, they accused me of making up that black people were looting in Harvey in Houston when we never even mentioned it other than a tweet at a news article that showed black looters. I've got so many videos of black looters it'll make your head spin, but we've not even been showing them until now because the media says that I'm making it up. No, the truth is we've seen black folks helping white folks helping white folks, black folks here in Texas and there in Florida. We've got crews there. And so that's why I haven't really been harping on that because it does show great unity. And you saw Trump after Charlottesville say that Antifa was really bad too. And 3 weeks later, the Democrats had to admit that Antifa was bad, but they never said Trump was right. So I've seen these hurricanes bringing unity, Dr. Steve Pieczenik, but I got to tell you, at the same time, I really do see open talk about removing the president publicly in mainstream news, and I take that very, very seriously.
What do you want to do, Alex? What do you want to do? You tell me what you're going to do.
I don't know. I mean, you're a smart guy. I didn't get you on here to affirm what I'm saying. I got you on because I wanted your take.
You got me on here to basically say, yes, well, I'm in the middle of a storm, and I'm in the middle of a storm that couldn't care less whether you're black, white, brown, yellow, or blue, or whether you're young and old, or whether you're a general or you're nothing. We're here to help each other out, and America's at this point. And you're talking about somebody trying to take out a president who's sitting there and he's doing fine. He's not being taken out. They're already planning trips for him to go to the Far East. Now, how are they going to plan a trip for him to go to the Far East if they're going to take him out?
Well, I mean, they had planned trips.
You tell me.
I will tell you, they had planned trips for Kennedy right before they killed him. What are you talking about?
No, they didn't plan anything. Kennedy, I'm not getting into the Kennedy issue, and you know that. The real issue now is not about an assassination. Roger wants to talk about that's his privilege. The real issue right now is what do you want to do for America?
Sure, but you call it command and control. I like the president tweeting. I like him being real. I like him interfacing.
Fine.
We don't need him on house arrest like Rapunzel.
What's that?
We don't need the president on house arrest like
He's
Rapunzel.
not under house arrest, but he's a grown man who has a series of things that he does. He's a grown man who brings in his own children to make decisions. That's fine. I'm not here to judge the president. He can do what he does. But I am here to judge the republic because unlike many other people and like many other veterans, we fought in order to maintain the republic. Whether Trump is here or Pence is here or Mickey Mouse is in the White House, you want to know what's irrelevant to us. What's relevant to us is that the republic remains so that it has the integrity.
And Trump has gutted 50 years of globalists selling out the country in 8 months.
Globalists aren't doing anything. Alex, right now, Brexit is in such serious trouble. Ireland is in trouble. Scotland is in trouble.
But that's the beginning of the separation. Of course.
Yeah, but who told you about it? I told you about it years ago. And I told you this would be the takedown of the system that was put in by the EU. We're not falling
Well, I mean, I gave you credit for that, but we were pushing to bring down the EU 20 years ago. I know that.
No, we weren't pushing it at all.
I was. Well, before they even officially launched it.
4 stars. Go home to your mother and tell her you're brilliant. That's not the issue. The issue.
Well, I'll tell you, in the real world, I've been able to predict stuff other people haven't. I said Trump was going to win 2 days before.
I think you're wonderful. Alex, will you stop promoting yourself?
I'm not promoting myself. I'm promoting facts.
Promoting yourself.
I'm promoting facts. I'm promoting facts. 70 seconds, we'll be back. If Steve doesn't throw a fit and hang up. Fit on air, which is good radio. And you know what? We should be upset about what's happening. A couple weeks ago, I was saying how Trump and the generals were doing a great job. And I thought it was all political infighting. And he was yelling at me saying, no, it's terrible. This is crap. Why did we put Trump in? He's deserted us. And then I got him on to actually see what he thought. I don't like call him and say, hey, what are you going to talk about? I actually want to hear. Sometimes he agrees, sometimes he disagrees. That's what I do with my guests. People say, why do you have people on that disagree or agree? Because that's what's interesting is the real discussion. So let's not change the debate until it's disingenuous in a hurricane to bring up the stuff happening with the political stuff. I just did 13 hours yesterday covering the hurricane. Now we're covering the aftermath. It's still ongoing, flooding, all the rest of it. We're praying for folks. But seriously, I'm optimistically hoping you're right. I mean, I haven't really said anything bad about Mattis. I keep learning about the stuff about McMaster. And then I see it confirmed later in the news that indeed he is doing this stuff. And it's just, it's disgusting. That's what I'm saying.
Why is it disgusting? Listen, first of all, how many people do you have on your staff there? You have 73, right?
Something like that.
All right. Why do you have 73 people when you know you can say whatever you want whenever you want it? Why are they there?
Well, there's everything from janitorial to accounting to IT to researchers.
Right. And then do you call me up beforehand to come on your show? No, you're not that sweet to me, so you send Alejandro Nico. So instead of Alejandro Nico, we have McMasters, we have Mattis. Now, do I always agree with McMaster? No. Did I agree with Mattis going into Afghanistan? No. I was furious because that was the turnaround. Am I throwing out everybody because I may be right or may be wrong? No. So what I'm asking you to do is to temper your language a little bit right now, because no one is going to take out Trump. Trump is going to even take himself out. He enjoys his company, has a beautiful wife, he has lovely kids, and we're going to go on. And by the way, if he took everybody out, how the hell are you going to explain the fact that Trump turned on the conservative wing and went right to our friend Schumer? Did you anticipate that? I
did, because they were totally blocking him and stonewalling him. All I care about is getting the jobs, cutting the taxes, repealing Obamacare, securing the borders, not teaching 5-year-olds how to have sex. And Trump's going in the right direction. So I get him not letting them.
I didn't disagree. When did I disagree that he went to Schumer and instead we had a whole outcry from a bunch of Republicans who did nothing over 7 years? You and I do our homework. We study, we learn what we do. But if you had a health bill for 7 years, Alex, I am certain you would have learned what was in that bill.
Yes. I mean, I scanned over the key subsections.
Excuse me, but none of our Republicans, neither Mitchell McConnell or Ryan or any of these
No, I know. I don't like them because they're arrogant. They wouldn't even return the president's calls. And then McMaster acts like that. I don't get the arrogance.
So
they won't. Well, hold on, because our next guest is 5 minutes late. Hold over if you can, because I want to finish this discussion. But here's what I'm getting at.
You want to finish me? You're not going to finish me, and we'll continue this. The issue is very.
I'm not trying to finish you. I'm not trying to best you. I'm trying to get.
But that's okay, Alex. We've been doing this for 14.
That's not what's happening. That's not what's happening.
Of course it is.
No, it's not. I'm trying to actually get to the goal of something. What we're getting at here is I can talk over you easily.
Let me talk for a while. Alex, pull it.
What's happening is
my time. I got to save people in the water. Gators are coming in and markets.
I saw that. So when we come back, I want to talk about the economy thing then. Just do 5 minutes on that. And the hurricane, because that's what I'm getting at is they wanted to stall the economy, lower our debt rating if he doesn't raise the debt ceiling, when they're the ones that never did it before. That's why I'm saying I support what he did.
Donald or Ryan, and they're useless. So we understand there are changes. But at the same time, to say that the man is captured and can't do anything, you're belittling Trump. He knows exactly what he wants to do. He knows exactly how to handle this situation. Kelly is there, as he said, to maintain the integrity of the White House, which is equal to Trump or even more important because we need continuity. He is not shut off from anybody or everybody wants to talk. He can go to his hotel and eat with anybody he wants. I don't know the gentleman. I wish him the best of luck. But don't denigrate the military and the intelligence system when I told you when there's a problem, there's a problem.
I wasn't denigrating the military to say that to disagree with stuff McMaster's doing or to say I don't think this surge is a good idea.
If McMaster's out of control, then Trump can fire him. That's not my problem. McMaster, we paid out of the Clancy franchise, 98, we paid him some money for his book on ARCAT. That was it. That's my full involvement with him. I don't have a problem if he's thrown out or taken out. Trump knows how to do that. But the reality is Trump is also the ability to play games and manipulate, and that's his right. The reason why we have several generals in that position, and they were put in there, is because he also respects the military command and control, and they reflect not only the present state of our republic, but all of those veterans of us who served for the past 60 to 70 to 80 years. Remember, the integrity of the republic is paramount. If the U.S. dollar goes down for any reason because we can't handle anything in the White House or we can't handle our economy, your dollar's worth nothing because in and of itself...
No, I understand. The big issue is, and globalism was supposed to end our prosperity, and I think that's why Hillary basically got blocked, and it shows the hubris of the establishment trying to sell her.
Hillary got blocked because you and I said correct.
They were told there was a stand-down order by the State Department and expose this lying witch. Madam President, like Newsweek said, thank you so much for joining us on such a busy day, sir.
Thank you. Thanks again. Good to see you again, brother. Thank you, Alex.
It's good to have you here with us. Wow. So I could ask the questions, but now Trump's in, so much has happened. Yeah. Hillary, the things she's saying, the things she's doing, saying America's racist for electing Trump. I mean, what do you just make of all this?
Same as always, the DNC and the Democrats are still playing that same card, trying to break this country apart, because if they don't do that, if they don't create havoc, at some point they won't win elections. In my eyes, though, I don't even listen to what she has to say. She showed her true cards to us when she left us to die on 9/11/2012 and 9/12/2012, and two of my teammates did die. So whatever she says, honestly, it's water off a duck's back. I don't even pay attention to the woman.
I could ask the questions here, but Survivor of Benghazi's best-selling book, film, all of it, of all the things that brought Hillary down, I think it's either WikiLeaks or Benghazi. But I think Benghazi, with the soldiers, with the airmen, with the Air Force folks, with the people in our military, I think that was the bridge too far.
Well, I agree, because she's going up and she's calling the people that have sworn to protect this country, that serve based off honor, courage, integrity, and morality, and she's calling us liars. So by doing that, really, she sealed her own, literally, presidential death warrant by doing that. You can't go up against special operations troops, Ranger, SEALs, and Marines and say, hey, they're lying, I'm telling the truth, even though 2 of their brothers died right in front of them. So, and what it also did, Alex, and what you've been doing forever, is it exposed the corruption between the mainstream media and the left. That's what Benghazi did as well, by us standing up and telling the truth. And I'm thankful that we did that. Yes, we lost our jobs because of it. We all lost our security clearances, the whole team. We're done. But it still was the right thing to do. And I think in the long run, people will see that it saved our country.
Confirmed from other sources that we've been sitting on for months as it developed with horror, not knowing how to respond, not knowing which faction was the best to support to help the president get his agenda through. And you've got to weigh each issue. I don't want to raise the debt limit. But if they want to lower us at Moody's and Standard & Poor's and others, they've never lowered our debt rating before. But if Trump did it, they were going to do it. And the big banks were planning a big downturn and planning to blame it on him like 1929 smooth haulings on the protectionist and killing the recovery. They're trying with everything they can with Obamacare in place and blocking tax cuts and all of it. And big banks saying, oh, we're going to go under. So he did the right thing there, going around the do-nothing establishment blue bloods that want to dictate to him that they're all powerful and Mitch McConnell wouldn't return the president's call. But that arrogance comes from what you're about to hear. I'm not McMaster's enemy. I'm not Kelly's enemy, who I know his son died in Iraq. I'm not Mattis's enemy. I trust the president to try to put people around him so that he knows other deep state wants to kill him. Early on, I liked the appointment of these generals. But the facts, not from Stone, not from other sources I've got, but from what I see in the news with McMaster and Secretary of State running down the president on Fox News, saying the opposite of what the president says, that's not Machiavellian behavior. That's them scared of the pressure, scared of having people yell at them at restaurants, scared of what I've gone through, coffee dumped on me, people attacking me. These people are a bunch of social climbers rolling over to the mob pressure when we're winning, when we're restoring the republic. These are people acting politically cowardly, two-faced. And it's the wrong message, and it's dangerous. So I'm going to give Roger Stone the floor. We're skipping this break. And the next 15 minutes, he's going to have exactly 15 minutes. I want him to lay out the entire raft of information that I can separately confirm almost all of from other sources. And I'm just sitting here not even knowing what to do because I don't just want the big story. Hell, I don't ever lie to the public, but sometimes I omit. I didn't even show all the black looting and stuff that we had video of in Houston or that we had video of in this latest hurricane in Florida until the media said I was promoting racism and saying blacks were looting. I never even said that. So here it is actually happening. They want to create division, and then again, it shows how deceptive they are. I want unity. They're the ones pushing racism and garbage. So Roger Stone's got the floor, 15 minutes. Just go ahead and lay it out, Roger.
Thank you, Alex. I can now follow up on a report that I first brought to the public surface on our new show, The War Room, several days ago with Owen Schroyer. And that regards a gentleman named Keith Schiller. Now, most folks would recognize Keith Schiller because in almost every picture of the president or video, you see a tall, muscular man in middle age standing near the president, as Keith Schiller has been what in politics we call the body man for as long as I can remember. A former New York Police Department veteran, Keith Schiller is the last man Donald Trump speaks to at night, the first man that he speaks to in the morning. He has always had the president's back, and he now has the title of Director of White House Operations, a job that was essentially created for him so that he could continue to render service to the president. Several media outlets reported last week that Schiller was leaving the White House employ and returning to New York. Given Keith Schiller's deep personal devotion to the president and his commitment to the Trump agenda, this made very little sense to me. We were told that Schiller was leaving for financial reasons, Also that he had some personal reasons that were domestic in nature, evidently going through a divorce. Keith Schiller is not the kind of man, Alex, who would turn his back on a mission, and he is personally very deeply devoted to the president. It can now be fully revealed that Schiller clashed with General Kelly over his own access to the president. That Kelly demanded that Schiller could not see or communicate with the president without his prior express approval, and that he needed to know the subject and matter at hand. And further, on those occasions in which Schiller was allowed to see the president, he had to file a written report afterwards to tell General Kelly what was discussed. Schiller, being his own man, refused to agree, and a showdown was scheduled with the president. Ultimately, Kelly threatened to resign as the White House chief of staff if Schiller stayed. And being the consummate professional, Schiller has withdrawn. What is shocking me is that the president is allowing him to withdraw. This is why I have said repeatedly that the president's physical safety is a paramount concern of mine. Keith Schiller is a patriot. He is a man known for his honor and his integrity, known for his devotion, personal and otherwise, to the president. And the fact that he is leaving is extremely ominous.
You told me privately months ago that he was the canary in the coal mine and that they were really trying to get Schiller then. I know you don't want to give up sources here, but wow, man, I tell you, this is amazing.
Well, I think the real objection to Schiller is really the same, Alex, as their actual objection to both Anthony Scaramucci and Stephen Bannon. General Kelly wants to cut off anyone who has a direct pipeline to the president, anyone who can get the president information, because God knows the president might find out, for example, that Joe Arpaio's on trial and that the Trump Justice Department didn't end this phony indictment when they could have. Or the president might learn that Jeff Sessions is planning a criminal law crackdown on medicinal marijuana, which the president said in the campaign he supports through states' rights. Or perhaps the president would learn that Jeff Sessions has an asset forfeiture program in which they take things from American citizens who haven't been convicted yet of any crime. So we can't have these inconvenient people getting through to the president to tell him what his administration is doing in so many areas. This is why I think Keith Schiller has been sacrificed. But the other shocking thing.
Yeah. By the way, this is so bombshell. I mean, are you gonna get into the McMaster and the meetings and?
Yes, we're getting into that right now. The other thing I can now report is that General McMaster was attempting to recruit Safra Catz, the CEO of Oracle, to chair the president's intelligence advisory board, and that Catz and McMaster were having dinner in a public restaurant, and that McMaster became inebriated. But during that time, he took a call from the president. He stepped away from the dinner table to take the call, but when he returned to the table, he had nothing but disparaging things to say about his boss. Let me quote directly. The president is a dope, he said. He is incapable of understanding anything beyond 140 characters. The idea of this guy having the nuclear football is scary. I see my mission as preventing him from blowing up the globe. Katz, to her credit, was offended by these comments, and she repeated them to Sheldon Adelson, with whom she is very friendly. Adelson being the billionaire Nevada businessman who is a good personal friend of the president and an important supporter in his election. When people affiliated with Adelson gave this story to the New York Post in an effort to expose the disloyalty of McMaster, Jared Kushner, the president's son-in-law, called Rupert Murdoch, and the story was spiked. Katz has refused to talk to any reporter, but says she will talk to the president of the United States if he asks her about this. She, of course, is a billionaire in her own right, and these CEOs pretty much make up their mind about how they wish to function. So you now have a stunning example of McMaster's disloyalty. Now, why should this not surprise us? McMaster previously worked for a think tank financed by George Soros. Intelligence from the Israelis has told us that McMaster is in direct touch with Soros. They also tell us that he has been leaking information that may be classified to General Petraeus. Petraeus is a mentor of McMaster's. And of course, McMaster is a longtime member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Not exactly the Donald Trump glee club. McMaster is working overtime with Kelly to complete the isolation of the president. And the American people would know nothing of this dinner unless we broke the news here at infowars.com.
It's mind-boggling to see how transparent it is when Newsweek, Times, CNN, all the main enemies of America worship McMaster and say he's the best thing since sliced bread. He's surrounding the president by Soros people. Let's get into the fact then. This was going to be published in the New York Post, and then it gets killed from. I mean, let's get into General Kelly too. Let's get into even keeping family away from Trump. Let's get into all of it.
Well, as I say, this is part and parcel of the continued effort to isolate the president. Now, it is interesting that Jared Kushner and Ivanka Trump, and again, I've said this many times, I'll say it again, I honestly believe that their motivations are good. They believe that the bad advice they're giving the president is actually in his best interest. They are, after all, elitists, both extremely wealthy, moving among the right crowd in the Hamptons, in the Upper West Side, or Malibu, Beverly Hills. And they would like the president to be popular with political elites. They just don't understand that that's impossible, that they hate the president for cultural reasons. They hate his patriotism. It's quaint and old-fashioned to them. Donald Trump will never be the toast of the people that his son-in-law daughter would like him to be. And frankly, they have played a crucial role in letting the generals get control. The irony now, however, is that General Kelly seeks to cut their access to the president off as well. You'll recall the media reports last week that said while the president was wrapping up the meeting with Senator Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, sticking it to Mitch McConnell and Paul Ryan because they won't work with the president, Ivanka Trump, uninvited and unscheduled, joined the meeting simply to pay her respects. Now, I think it can be seen in context. That was a big FU to General Kelly, who seeks to cut off Ivanka's access to her own father. In retaliation, Kelly canceled Ivanka Trump's already announced trip to China, where she was going on a goodwill mission, because the Chinese have been working with us to try to resolve the North Korean problem, something Barack Obama could never get them to do.
Okay.
This is the intrigue we're looking at, Alex, and it is interesting that while Jared and Ivanka helped the generals come to power, just as Steve Bannon did, they now see themselves as targets of General Kelly.
Who's the leader of the generals?
Well, it would be supposition, but strangely enough, Alex, I think General Mattis is actually the leader. Why? Because he's the one who says the least. What you'll notice is that the U.S. Army public relations machine is constantly pumping out propaganda to make him look like General George Patton. He says nothing of substance other than we're going to have the strongest, most efficient military in U.S. history, a laudable goal. but he is senior to both McMaster, who should have been riffed out of the service years ago, was saved by Petraeus. McMaster's drinking problem is an open secret in Washington. I guarantee you the Russians and the Chinese are well aware of it. Everyone in official Washington is. And of course, Kelly was brought to the table by Stephen K. Bannon, who placed him first at immigration, or I should say Homeland Security, and then helped him rise to power at the White House, only to be stabbed in the back by Kelly, who immediately told the president Bannon has to go.
And now, I guess we have this triumvirate, or we have this trifecta. We have our three generals up there. And it'd be one thing if they were continuing the Trump agenda, but instead they're just bringing in a bunch of Soros people who we know is a super spy. Basically, they even modeled the new James Bond movie that came out on him and his quantum group, who is this clearinghouse between all these criminal organizations, I guess, to line their pockets personally?
No, I think it's actually, these guys are Council on Foreign Relations members. They're globalists. They belong to the global elite. We're to the point, Alex, where you don't get that high in the military unless you bought in to the globalist
Sure, so
agenda.
Trump trusts the military because the military is good overall, but when you're drawing from the top, they've only got globalists in there.
Well, and let's look at their advice. Mr. President, bomb the hell out of Syria and then send in 150,000 troops immediately. Thank God Donald Trump disagreed. Now Afghanistan. I think we both understand we should be withdrawing from Afghanistan. That's what the president promised us in the campaign. Now he seems to have given General Mattis an open order here to stay in Afghanistan.
All right, Roger, stay there. We're going to come back into the big issue, and that is the president slurring his words. This is not publicly known, but this is from all our sources and people that have talked directly with him. He doesn't drink. They've been pre-hyping that he's going to have mental problems, have a collapse. It'd be smart for them to go ahead and just slowly poison him or slowly drug him instead of killing him and turning him into a martyr. It's an old Chinese tactic to drug the emperor slowly or to get him addicted. This is an old tactic used on other presidents. We're going to hit the big one straight ahead, the mental capacity of the president.
We're on the march.
Well, maybe Trump knows what he's doing with these generals and all the rest of it, but when his own daughter can't get in to see him, and when I know most of these deep state leaks are coming out of the intelligence agencies, they're not coming out of his family. And they threaten him with all the leaks until he gives them full power, and then, yeah, the leaks stop. Except now they just have the Secretary of State on Fox News, who I've been supportive of overall, he had a good record at ExxonMobil, running down the president saying, America speaks for America, I speak for myself, Trump speaks for himself. But I speak for America, basically. And McMaster up there going, oh, we're going into Syria. We're going to take out Assad, when Trump had said we weren't. And then people tell Trump about him saying that, and he comes out and says, no, we're not doing that. They want to be president. And we didn't elect Ivanka or Jared Kushner or Rex Tillerson or McMaster. So for me, it's not like some battle and let's pick people off and get our people in. Because you get rid of one group, people even worse comes in. I just sit back and watch this, and I see the escalation in the Middle East. I see the escalation in Afghanistan. I see this asset forfeiture seizure. What we had before was unconstitutional. This is just like pirates pulling up and taking what you got. I'm not against the police, but I don't want to just give the bad police departments out there. It's famous for it in some areas, East Texas and other areas, where they just pull old ladies over, just take the money out of their wallet. I like Jeff Sessions wanting us to have a border and sovereignty, but it's a dying issue, a failing issue to give people 5 years in jail for marijuana. And by the way, I don't like marijuana. Roger likes it. I don't like it. Makes me paranoid. And I know it's weaponized and super strong now, but you decriminalize it to not make it all sexy and cool. I know it's got a lot of medical uses, and it's a great plant overall, but it can be misused. But so can alcohol. We're not going to lock folks up for, drinking too much vodka, are we? Or a lot of us would be in jail. So we see some bad things starting to come. And the more he gets sequestered, the more bad stuff we see. But we see some good things as well. We saw the unity in the hurricane, all of it. But Roger Stone, I've studied history as you've done, and I've studied the Chinese, I've studied the British, I've studied the Norman, I've studied it. And something they would do is start putting a little bit of poison in the king's food, or a little bit of poison in people's food they wanted to get rid of so they'd act crazy, or tire them out, or start putting a little bit of a sedative in their Diet Coke, just a little bit, until suddenly they want the Diet Coke but don't know why, and are sleepy at night and suddenly don't have as much energy. This happened to Ronald Reagan. Then he got shot. Then he was given cold blood transfusion, causing some brain damage. Then they'd kind of keep him drugged up and then kind of wind him up and bring him back out. Kennedy, it was totally admitted. The Nazi doctors controlled Hitler. He was taking more drugs than Elvis Presley at the end. So this is a culture of control, something that control systems do. And a lot of folks have talked about it, who've talked to the president, that now used to incredible energy, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, midnight. Now sleepy at 7, 8, 9, slurring words. This feeds into their narrative that he's got Alzheimer's. First thing you said they do 4 months ago was, just you talked about editorial meetings at major papers, just to recap for folks, where they were saying next thing if Russia doesn't work is he's a racist, intermittently with he's got early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, cognitive problems. And then sure enough, that's there. He has incredible energy, incredible smarts. But then he's sequestered. He's surrounded like Rapunzel up in the tower, but doesn't have the long hair to get out or to raise up the huntsman or whatever. He's stuck there, and suddenly, oh, now there is the fatigue. Suddenly there is the problems. If people don't think this is how they take control of the most important position in the world, they're crazy. If they don't think it's being tried, that now his personal security guy's gone, who gets what he wants, checks it, brings it in, who's smart, who's paranoid, who's watching all these guys, if they don't think that, they're crazy. The probability is, I'd say 99%, they're trying to drug him. Because if he doesn't continue to show his old smarts, we know they're taking the edge off. Is he smart enough to pick up on it? Now, Roger, we're not the ones saying this. These are our sources, other people. Oh, and I forgot the most important point. I heard this a month ago. They were shopping it around that, oh, don't worry, he's going to be incapacitated soon. You'll see. Hell, they've had Al Gore say it on the Late Late Show. They've had the former deputy director of the CIA and FBI say it, Phil Mudd. Oh, he's going to be incapacitated. He'll be neutralized the next 2 months. And then Congress tells our sources, no, that means physically. And we go, kill him? They go, well, you'll see. So this is how I would do it myself. I even said this 6 months ago. So, gosh, I hope we're not giving them ideas. No, I got this from history. They know what they're doing. And they've got all sorts of sophisticated things to be able to carry this type of operation out. Also, waking him up at night, coming in with all the alerts. It's a form of torture, basically, and they put presidents through this to get control. Obama knew how to just roll over and do whatever he was told. So we've set the table that they're the ones shopping that, oh, don't worry, we're basically drugging him. Don't worry, we've got control. And McMaster's strutting around. I mean, let's go through this and back into McMaster and back into some of the other details, and then go down the path of blackmail. Let's just get it all out today.
Well, Alex, as you have correctly pointed out, my greatest concern is with a loyalist like Keith Schiller no longer standing vigilantly with the president. Incapacitating him would be relatively easy. I know what the folks over at Media Matters for America are thinking. Oh, you're conspiracy theorists. No, we're conspiracy realists. We know from the Church Committee hearings in the 70s that the Central Intelligence Agency has a drug which can induce a heart attack, but which will not be detected in an average autopsy unless you were looking for it. Donald Trump poses the greatest single threat to the globalist clique, to the trilateralist neocon duopoly that has run the country and our foreign policy into the ground. And if they cannot co-opt him, it is not unrealistic or irresponsible or crazy to think that they would remove him. They removed John F. Kennedy for exactly this reason. They removed Richard Nixon, although he made it easy, for exactly this reason, and they are not in any way morally above removing this president. There was a cover story, I think it was in Time, just a few weeks ago, trying to make the case that the president is lazy. I've known him 40 years. He is one of the hardest working men I know. His mind is always working. He's always working the phones. He's always jotting down notes to himself. This is a guy who, even when he's trying to have recreation, trying to play golf, he's still taking business phone calls.
Sure, and let's stop right there. They introduced this idea. You were told it from high-level editorial meetings that your sources were in. It then manifests, and let's be clear. Media Matters, funded by Soros, they're all picking up on this, and I'm saying this is 100% for sure. This is from sources. They know we have the sources. They know we do the research. And I'm doing this to warn the president that he needs to have a third-party doctor, not the Pentagon doctor or whoever. He needs to have his blood tested. He's smart, and he does. And again, Roger, I know you don't want to give up sources, but, I mean, the president is definitely... By what time, when people are talking to him, at what times is he slurring his words?
He's slurring his words on various times, and that's what's concerning. Let's be very clear. I have a source at the New York Times, a reporter who expressed to me a concern that in a conversation they had on the phone with the president, that he was slurring his words. The president does not drink. The president most certainly does not do drugs. The president is sharp as a tack. Now, let's give some credibility to
well, let me stop you. When I've had conversations with him, it's like he's speaking like an actor. It's so precise and so smooth that exactly. Then you hear he's slurring his words. It's like, whoa.
Well, now, in the president's defense, could he be exhausted? Yeah, he works very hard for the country. He is passionate about his desire for an economic revival, for a boom. He said it to me, wait and see, you'll see. When I get my 15% tax rate, this economy is gonna cook like nothing you've ever seen. It'll be the greatest advance in job creation this country's ever seen. He is deeply committed and passionate about this. But I have now heard, not from one, but two different sources, that he seemed disoriented and was slurring his speech in conversations. To me, this is a tip-off that he may be being medicated. Is General Kelly above this? No. In the New York Times and the Washington Post of last week, I was quoted as saying, Kelly ultimately will fail in his attempt to isolate the president. That's because the Donald Trump I know is his own man. He's not going to be told who he can see and who he can't see, who he can talk to and who he can't talk to, what he can read and what he cannot read, where he can go and where he cannot go. He simply won't be controlled, managed, handled. It's not his style.
I want to get back to the drugging, but let's talk about Keith Schiller, his longtime, basically chief of staff, bodyguard, confidant, best friend. Trump is saying he's, quote, crushed. And again, the pressure they put on your family behind the scenes, the things they do, he then resigns. Trump says it's in the news. He can't believe it. I guess trying to get Schiller back. I don't want to get into inside baseball, but obviously they know who Schiller's talking to, Roger, and they got all our phones tapped. So the point is that we're not just pulling this out of the air. I can't get into, I don't know how much we can say, but this is, I don't know what they can do to make Schiller do this. So I hope a certain person we know gets on the phone with Schiller very quickly, because somebody I know has his phone number and talks to him. But then that person never wants to reveal.
But let's be very clear. Keith Schiller is a very discreet guy, and he protects the president's discretion. My source on why Schiller is leaving is not Keith Schiller. Let me make that as clear as I can.
No, you had folks that were in the meeting, but I know, because I have it from separate sources. Then tell folks specifically some of the things. I mean, how much can we get in without giving up the sources? Because people need to know what happened when Ivanka came in, when Schumer was there, and Pelosi. I mean, there's just all of this. It's incredible. It's just incredible. And now they are, almost all the sources are chopped off. He's almost completely isolated. That's why we're dumping all this now.
Well, that's exactly right. The curtain is coming down, and it puts the president in great danger, and it puts the country in great danger. Because really what's happened, and you touched on this, Alex, is The U.S. Justice Department, there's only one Trump guy there, Sessions. Everybody below him works for Barack Obama, and they are keeping the U.S. attorneys in place. In New York State, they've let Chuck Schumer name the U.S. attorneys in New York and Albany. That is insanity. At the State Department, Condoleezza Rice has kept the Obama and Soros people intact.
And their response to Trump sharing power is to say they want him dead, and that his supporters are all rapists and Nazis. They're coming for all of us because they know we're winning. This is total war. What do we do?
Well, it's essential that the president not be allowed to be isolated. It is essential that those who can break through to him and tell him what's really going on continue to do so. The president would not have pardoned Joe Arpaio if he didn't learn through InfoWars that the Justice Department was trying to railroad Arpaio.
Well, they're threatening everybody. I know they're threatening Drudge. I know they're threatening everybody to not have any of us work together so they can isolate us and pick us all off. We're winning the culture war. The listeners have to know, though, the censorship, the attacks, the demonization, it's all going into high gear, but we're having victories. When Trump goes with his instinct and says Antifa's evil and bad, his numbers go up. Then 3 weeks later, the Democrats have to admit it's true. Again, this mindlessness where if you say Antifa's bad, but the white supremacists are bad, you're defending white supremacists. No, you're not. It's like saying Joe Stalin was bad and so was Hitler. They're both bad. Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy were both bad. If you say they're both bad, it doesn't say the other one's okay.
Well, not only that, but when I suggested that General Kelly's attempts to isolate the president would fail, Kelly went to the president and told him that he was forbidden from ever speaking to Roger Stone again. Hey, General Kelly, fat chance on that one. I'm just warming up on you, friend, because you don't support the Trump agenda. You are not loyal. Everything I have said here today is out of loyalty to the president and his worldview. We elected Donald Trump. Let Trump be Trump. That's the point of this. You won't have foreign wars. You won't have.
And by the way, Cernovich and Posobiec broke, and they blew his covers, naval intelligence. Oh, they're like, we're pulling his security clearance because the president likes him. The president likes somebody in naval intelligence, they get kicked out. It's like he's the enemy, and I mean, it's so crazy. And what do you make of Rex Tillerson? I mean, why would Rex Tillerson go on Fox News and badmouth the president? I mean, these people.
Rex Tillerson's worried about life after Trump. Rex Tillerson's got 1 foot out the door already. He doesn't like this job. He doesn't want this job. In fact, he's abrogated the job to Condoleezza Rice. Rex Tillerson, who I think's a good man, is running nothing.
Well, let me tell you what's happening. That's it. They're being bullied. Their wives are being messed with. They're being sped at. They're being attacked like me and Roger do, physically on the street. And so they're cracking under it. That's fine. Leave. We want to save the country. I don't want contracts. I don't want jobs. I could have sold out 100 times, been bigger than Rush Limbaugh on terrestrial radio. I really believe in something. And they call that mentally ill. And they call Trump mentally ill. That I really do want to have sovereignty. I really do want to cut taxes. I really do want to defend Christianity. I really do not want to give over to Islam. And I'm not going to stop. They have to know that we're going to win.
This is about the Trump agenda. Alex, I could make an enormous amount of money today by hanging up a shingle and becoming a lobbyist to lobby the Trump
No, you used to make $10 million a year doing it. You got more offers now than ever.
I refuse to do it because it would cloud my judgment and it would be a conflict. I'm in favor of the success of the Trump presidency.
By the way, did you not notice that one thing media gets right is Trump really believes in what he's saying. He really has gotten rid of all the lobbyists. And then they go, isn't he horrible? I mean, he really is doing the right thing. Well, stay right there. Let's just come back. Stay there, Roger Stone. Skip the break.
Let's face it, Alex. If the president found a cure for cancer, the headline in the Washington Post would be, Trump puts doctors out of work. They won't give this guy a break. We have 1 million new jobs.
It's actually 1.6 million, Roger.
Okay, we have the stock market at a record high. He has cut regulations that kill jobs to the bone. He has the Chinese working with him to try to contain this lunatic in North Korea. but they won't give the president any credit. It is unlike anything that I have ever seen.
And the military has crushed ISIS. They're not even in 2 major cities now. They're just hiding out in a few caves.
We're now to the point where we know, as Owen Schroyer reported, that ISIS is buying uranium in Somalia, or I should say they have obtained uranium, and they're selling it to the Iranians in violation of the Iranian deal that Obama made.
And obviously North Korea, in fact, let me just say something here. You and Cernovich are co-hosting with Owen. We've launched 6 new hours of transmission in the last month. I haven't even done the liners yet professionally for you guys, so I just want to make this clear. It's Owen Schroyer, it's Roger Stone, it's Mike Cernovich. He's here in the big HD studio with all the clips and all that prepared, kind of quarterbacking stuff. But then we've got our star running backs and wide receivers that are Roger Stone and all the rest of it. So that show comes on every day right after this one at 3 o'clock Central. So the great news is this is so important. Maybe we need Roger to continue on, because what you've been covering here is breaking in newspapers by the hundreds right now. And they're trying to spin it and obviously misrepresent it, that we're saying he's senile, we're saying this. No, we're saying they said, watch, he'll soon be incapacitated. And suddenly we've got high-level sources, New York Times, you name it, and other people that talk to him, where he's slurring his words. So this is happening. We had no, I guess, they say they're going to, quote, get rid of him, drug him, and then self-manifest the fact that, he looks like he has Alzheimer's. This is so incredibly obvious. Alzheimer's doesn't show up in a month. This is incredible, Roger.
And you saw, Alex, within the last 30 days, Ana Navarro, the liberal Democrat who appears on CNN posing as a Republican, big fundraiser for Senator Bob Menendez, big donor to Deborah Wasserman Schultz, saying the president has Alzheimer's. You have Don Lemon saying the president has the early stages of Alzheimer's, then trying to deny when he was confronted that he said it, like we're idiots and we can't see the videotape. This has been part of the game plan from the beginning. If they cannot defeat you, they try to discredit you. If they can't discredit you, they try to co-opt you. If they can't co-opt you, they try to destroy you. They have been unable to completely co-opt the president, although they keep trying. Afghanistan's, that decision was, I think, an ominous sign, as opposed to Syria, where the president did the right thing. They said, Mr. President, you must send 150 troops immediately. And he said, no way.
And Roger, let's be clear. Roger, let's be clear. Way back in whenever it was, like 4 months ago, when you said next thing will be early onset dementia, all this, you had that from sources. It all came true. The media's gone from saying we're making up sources to admitting we have them and admitting they've got to cut us off. Headlines all over the news. InfoWars banned at the White House 3 weeks after Jack Posobiec broke that news here. So this is going on. This is happening. And it just shows that Trump is a good man. Doesn't mean he's perfect. Nobody is. But that's why they hate him so much. And I just don't get the political class. Why don't they just get out of the way, let America basically take over globalism, but use it to empower people and free market, and then disintegrate it? We'll still have global trade, but not the global system of overriding nations, attacking Christianity, exporting Islam everywhere, sexualizing kids, turning everything over to these nihilistic people. I mean, it's a survival thing. Why do they want to override anything strong, anything good, and blow it up? Why do they have such a hard-on for America? Why do the globalists want to destroy the average working person? Why are they such you-know-whats?
Because it is cultural hatred for what Trump is and what he believes. They think American patriotism is outdated. You guys don't understand. It's a new world. No, it isn't. We are still the same country we have ever been.
And we're badass.
And anybody who supports American sovereignty or American exceptionalism or American nationalism, well, you're a white supremacist. You're a bigot. You're a racist. No, we're not. You talk about disinformation when the people at Media Matters for America say Bill and Hillary and the Podestas have no ties to child traffickers. They're the ones who are lying. They're the ones who are spreading.
There are child traffickers convicted all around them.
So look, this isn't an epic battle. This is about Western civilization. I'm glad to see Steve Bannon outside the tent shooting in for a change. He gave us Kelly. Now he needs to go clean it up.
And again, why doesn't, I guess Kelly and all them are creatures of the deep state. They know it's safe. It's a power trip. And even their adjuncts are like, well, we're the Republic and we're going to protect it. And, you know, and then they turn on the head. Well, if you were never in the military, then you can't even be part of this. When these are the elites feeding on the military and actually using our best and brightest to carry this crap out. And it's just unbelievable. And it's the level of cowardice to it all. The people get in these big groups and go along with it because that's what's easy for them to never actually stand up for anything.
Well, when you have elite globalists like Gary Cohn, formerly of Goldman Sachs, Gary tax credit Cohn, I should say carbon tax Cohn, bad-mouthing the president publicly, saying that he considered resigning over the president's Charlottesville comments. Gary, resign now, quickly, before you're fired, because you should be.
Roger, I know you've been on with us for 45 minutes. Owen Schroyer in the War Room's coming up. When are you scheduled to be on there today? So I want you to recap this. There's stuff you didn't get into. This is riveting. Infowars.com/show. A lot of new stations starting to pick up the show. When are you scheduled to be on War Room?
I will be on at 5 o'clock Eastern. Between now and then, I'm going to do some more reporting. I've got a number of calls I have to return. Updated information at 5 Eastern. On the War Room with Owen Schroyer.
All right, that's 5 Eastern, 4 o'clock Central?
That's correct.
All right, so infowars.com/show to find all the Showtimes listings and so much more. Owen's just doing a great job quarterbacking it. But again, it is the War Room with Roger Stone, Mike Cernovich, and Owen Schroyer. They didn't even bring it up. We launched the show just with Owen because they've been so busy. We're getting it all lined up and getting them the equipment being set up. Amazing. God bless our crew. Everybody else, please financially support us. Pray for us. Great deals. Infowarsstore.com. We need your prayers, number one, because we're risking our lives doing this. Make no mistake. Great job, Roger. God bless you. We're not backing down.
This is GCN, the Genesis Communications Radio Network.
Clean, pure drinking water. You can't survive without it. But where do you get it? Alexa Pure Pro is a brand new, groundbreaking, gravity-fed water filtration system that is like no other. The Alexa Pure Pro transforms water from virtually any fresh source into clean, healthy drinking water, pairing the unprecedented superfiltration power of an all-new gravity block core with a hybrid chromatic shell. It removes up to 99.999% of impurities, including bacteria, viruses, fluoride, disinfectants, volatile organic contaminants, and hormones. Filter capacity up to 5,000 gallons. Stainless steel construction, easy assembly, low maintenance. Replacement filters are simple to install. And now, as part of an exclusive limited time introductory offer, you can save $20 off the retail price and get free shipping. This is a limited time offer, so order your unit today and receive... Years ago, we saw the worst terrorist attack in world history, not American history. 3,000 plus lives lost. 5 years ago, we saw the Benghazi stand down and the treason of Hillary Clinton and the deep state finally turning against her cold-blooded crime machine. And 1 year ago, we saw Hillary Clinton symbolically in New York City on the 15th anniversary fall to the ground. I ought to pull up the MSNBC and CNN clips we've got where they say, InfoWars is putting out fake news that she fell down. She only stumbled. Then they'd only show the very first of the clip and not show her falling on her face are being thrown in the back of the black ambulance like a side of beef, as the Secret Service later said. 1 month before that happened, the Secret Service told us, follow her everywhere, look for her black disguised ambulance, and look for her being rushed to it and on her campaign car, and that means she is having a convulsion. Well, that is indeed what you just witnessed there. You have Hurricane Irma. We can put that up on screen. And then we have another hurricane, Jose, right behind it. Category 3 out there in the Gulf. Half of Florida is without power, looting spree. Keys residents seething over roadblocks. Miami Beach residents barred from returning. Tampa largely unscathed. Authorities to pursue felonies for abandoning pets. Alligators